Good morning, bonjour, guten Morgen, hallo alles, bon dia, hola, buongiorno, pergano. All right. Um, as the title of the video says, I'm here to talk about my views on the way we are fighting climate change and how, in terms of, and I'm going to be talking about some things like, for example, pollution, and how, in terms of things such as pollution, we need to have a different approach to the issue. Why am I saying this? Because we are doing things like, for example, make recycling something normal, and that has happened. But at the same time, we are not forcing the industry itself beyond things like banning plastic straws, plastic packaging, whatever, replacing it for other types of packaging. We are not doing enough on the companies themselves. I'll give you an example. Uh, I need to drink bottled water, okay, due to health problems, okay, health problems. I was born with them, so it's nothing new, it's nothing devastating. I can drink tap water, but then I will suffer the consequence. But and so covering the brand, you see, almost all bottles of water are plastic, and there are other materials, even uh, biodegradable plastics that could be used. And the industry says this: we will have to increase the prices of the products, and we will have to do this, and we will have to do that. And instead of listening to the government, telling them standards, you understand what I'm trying to say, forcing them to take actual measures to decrease this pollution, no. They throw it all into the citizen's back. And then the citizen has to waste his time recycling things. I'm not saying we something should not be on the public's back. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that it seems to me that while I'm separating my plastics and putting it in the proper bin, companies are polluting and producing products packaged in polluting packaging, earning millions. And to me, that does not compute. Because if we all make an effort, that would be different. If they all were also doing their part in their business, I would understand that. But no, they do the bare minimum. Even here in Europe, where we have stricter rules, they do the bare minimum, just to not be fined, just to uphold the law. And this is a paradigm we need to change. Okay, we as a society, with this idea of the economical viable, we are killing the country. We are killing the country. Sorry, we are killing the planet. We are killing ourselves because we need to stop. We need to stop this mentality. Okay, we will not go far with it. You know what will happen at the end of this road? We will all end up butt naked, struggling in the mud for the little resources we still have, and then we will grow extinct. I I usually tell this people because when you think about climate change, you almost have to think in the perspective of deep time, of geological time. Do you understand? You cannot think in a decade, in 20, 30, 40, 100, 200 years. You have to think in the perspective of 500 years, of 1,000 years. Because you want to know what are the real consequences of climate change in the next 50 years, for example, extreme weather, droughts, blizzards, storms, and then the other associated effects, earthquakes, okay, volcanic activity also. Why earthquakes? Well, if you are removing or putting water into geological active areas, if you are increasing or decreasing temperatures in certain places, that will destabilize the fails and whatever and all of that. If you are removing oil, even the fact of removing oil and gas from inside of the earth, that causes an issue because you have to understand, you have to look at our planet. We are focused in our little corner, but we need to look at it as a whole. So imagine you have water applying pressure on a fault line. Imagine you have, for example, you have two fault lines, and if you don't know, the fault lines can go up over one of them or one of the fault lines. They can go down, as you can see, okay? They can crash, and a lot of things can happen. They can shatter into themselves. And imagine this: you have a fault line here, and there's water, ice, let's say ice, applying pressure. And climate change makes that ice melt. That ice turns into water, and the pressure over the fault line slowly disappears. This is one example. Now, imagine you have a whole hollow space with oil and gas applying pressure to that area of the land. You remove it, that pressure disappears. This is simple, okay? It's like digging a hole, and you will come to a point when the walls of the hole, if they are not properly secured, they will crash. That happens in mines and whatever. So, what I'm trying to tell you is this. Uh, we feel better for doing things that we should do. I'm not saying we shouldn't do it. I'm not saying, oh, it's not worth it, I won't do it, whatever. Someone else can clean up the mess. No, you should. You should put your garbage in the garbage can. You should pick up your trash from the ground. You should pick up your dog poo from the ground and put it in the proper place. You should do all of that. Why? Because it improves our quality of life, and it's a small step, but it's a good step. But the current combustion engine that we use in most of our cars, and I know we use electric cars now, but I will talk about that. It has become obsolete. I think since after the World War II, when the Nazis successfully experimented with electric powered cars. Okay, we can have right now. We could, if there was a will to do it, we could build solar cars. We could build electric cars that are not dependent in the type of batteries that we use. We have a very vast, um, how can I call it this? A very vast selection of means we can use to have energy to power cars. Now I'm talking about cars, but instead we are following the same model as we did with the internal combustion. And why is that? Economy, money. No, the same companies that were, and I'm not even seeing the companies, the same people in the sense of groups of people, okay? Because if you believe in conspiracy theories of world governments and all that crap, please don't bother me with that shit, okay? But those people that were investing hard in fossil fuels, now they need another place to invest their money. So they invest in batteries, they invest in EVs, they invest in wind farms, they invest in solar farms, you know, in hydro plants. But the issue here is that we could have perfectly functional cars in our roads and completely green. It wouldn't be that hard, you know. Would they be different? Of course. We wouldn't have brand cars competing amongst themselves, and comfortable cars with a lot of sayings. But the issue here is what do you want from a car? Imagine, and I'm going to talk with the Americans. Imagine you are living in the suburbs. You need to use a car to go everywhere. And that my company or the state or whatever comes to you and tells you, look, I have a solar car. You practically just need to leave it on the sun for it to load up with energy enough to move. The technology is very simple, it's very basic, it's very easy to repair. But the issue here is that the car, and I'm sorry, Americans, I don't know mileage for miles, so I will say it in kilometers converted. Uh, but the issue is this car cannot go more than, I don't know, 80 or 90 kilometers per hour. And that car is a quarter of the price of a normal car. It's much more resilient because the technology is much simpler. So you will probably have barely more than the lights for the car, the headlights and whatever, the security things in the car, and perhaps a radio or something like that in the car. But it would be a perfectly functioning machine. Now, you tell me, wouldn't you accept that car? I would. Look, the question is this: we can make things simpler. We can make technology that is more resilient and lasts and passes the test of time if we stop thinking in the economically viable perspective. If we continue to think in this way, we are not going to survive. No, we are not. If we try to monetize everything, if we try to monetize our entire production, our entire evolution, we won't survive. There was a point in our history that was very beneficial to us. Now we have to learn how to insert those two aspects into our life. We could continue to have other types of cars, but we would have to introduce the simple measures to give the population simple means to transport themselves, simple means to energize their houses, to have energy in their houses. But we are not doing it. So for me, this plastic bottle saying, it's a symptom. because no one changed. For example, I'll give you a very basic example. No one has come up with a simple idea to package candy bars, chocolate bars. You know how they did it in the other days, in other times? It was a paper that was called wax paper. It's a more resistant paper to moisture, to whatever. Okay, so they would package candy bars and other stuff in it, and it would last for a long time. That paper would last. Yeah, of course, it would not last as much as a synthetic plastic package wrap, but it would last a long time. You know, and bottles, you can produce glass bottles, or you can produce bottles with other types of plastics that are biodegradable. There are lots of solutions that you can apply to this case, and there are some companies that are already selling water in glass bottles. Okay, me usually either drink the water or I put it in a glass flask, in a glass bottle that I have here. Okay, but this is a symptom of the way that we look at these things. You know, the way we eat, the way we produce food. This is all interconnected with this economical viable idea. And I'm not saying to ban competition, ban companies altogether. That is not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that we should twist it and make them do the recycling first. For example, instead of selling me my water in a plastic bottle, they can sell my bottle of water in some other type of container. Okay, they can package the candy bars in another type of packaging. Okay, if you go down to the business, look, for example, butter, the boxes of butter, you either have those that come wrapped in that paper, the same type of paper, that you have at your home, you take it off and you put in a container to use it. But most of it still comes in plastic containers. Okay. For example, eggs here right now they all come in cardboard containers. So you are going to tell me that you are not able to build a container in carton or whatever with wax paper for the butter, for the yogurts or for whatever. You are going to tell me I need these containers. They have to be in this polluting material. Then the person that's going to eat that ice cream or going to eat that yogurt will have to recycle it. And I know there are some ideas around, and they are good ideas. And some companies have made a real effort in changing this. But the issue here is that this is not the issue in the society in general. You know, it's not the look, a pen, ein Stilo, a pen. You see, this is plastic. Most pens, they're like this. Okay, why isn't this made of some kind of material that is less pollutant? Because me, I'm going to be careful. I'm going to take my little pen. I'll take this metal part here, then I will take the rest and put it in a container. But the issue here is I will have to do it. And I already paid for the product. that should be according to the rules that we are deciding to ourselves. And then you go to the higher echelons of the companies where they sacrifice the environment and our health, even in a highly regulated market like the European market, but they sacrifice our well-being, the well-being of the environment for their personal profits. And it is not communist or socialist that is telling you this. I'm neither. If you want to put me in a box so you feel more comfortable in having an opinion about me, I am a free thinker Democrat. I am in the center. I don't like extremes. Extremes are bad for everyone and for society in general. What I'm trying to say in this entire rant, where I talked about cartons of eggs, whatever, is the paradigm that is here. About 15 years ago, there was a team here in the university that made an electric car that functioned perfectly. It recharged during the day, it recharged as it moved, okay? And then they were making the piece, and the government said, blah, 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 yes, this is an excellent idea, we are going to invest in it, and blah, 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 blah. Now, where is my electric car? Economically viable. Do you understand what I'm trying to tell you? If governments want to solve questions like global warming, and I know even here I see it, they are doing a lot of good things, they are advancing tremendously, but not quick enough. We need, for example, first, we need to do this, a green plan, into all public transportation. Right now, we are in the middle. We have some public transportation that is green, we have some public transportation that is not. Okay? And it's like they keep on going. It's always the same. If we don't change this, and if we don't all do it, this won't come quick enough. Because this idea of the economical viable, it's also forcing emerging countries or poor countries to sacrifice their environment that supports us all also. We all support each other. None of what we do does not have an effect on our neighbor because we are talking about the environment. We are talking about the entire planet. But those countries, they are forced to do that because they also want peace. They also want prosperity. They also want jobs. They also want to feed themselves. So this is not something that you will be able to do by yourself. All countries have to do this. And when you see people like Trump, drill baby drill, you know he's going to damage his country and ours, the entire world. Why? Because we allow them to have profit with this mentality. This mentality is terribly. It's I think it's the worst thing in the it's the worst human trait to think only of a profit instead of going to the meat of the subject, which is what can I get from this? Okay, how is this going to benefit me and the group? You know, you cannot think in a single event. You cannot think, oh, right now we cannot have less pollutant cars because they are too expensive. No, you make them less expensive by canceling this idea ab initio in the start. And is it easy? Of course not. But remember, remember the example that I gave of giving that person a car, a solar car that would be slower and not have as much commodities as a normal car. These are small things that we can do. We can start with public transportation. We can, and I repeat this, we are already doing this, okay? Here in Portugal, we are doing this also. And in a lot of countries in Europe. The US, I don't know how it is. Hmm? But we can do this if the state has the political will to do it. And by doing this, we will be giving the example and we will have the moral authority to force other countries to do the same. If we do this, we can tell them, you want to sell your beef here? Okay, sorry, you are producing that beef, but you are destroying the environment. You're not going to sell that beef here. Peer pressure. And forcing companies that sell us goods to do these simple actions of using, for example, look, this is from a Portuguese company that sells yogurt. It's a glass. It's a glass thingy. You know? Do you understand? And this is was not more expensive than any other yogurt. I actually buy it because I like it. Okay, but this is an example. This is not plastic. This is a glass. It's a weak glass. It's a thin glass, but it's glass. And the price may be around more 10 cents than a, another container made of plastic of that paper-like plastic thing that they use. Okay, this is an example. There are possible solutions for this issue, but we need to look for them and we need to solve it. You know, I'm not one of those guys that support those idiots that were destroying works of art in the name of the environment. No, those are dumb people. What you have to do is to ask for concrete action. And you don't ask once and expect them to listen to you. You ask it once, you ask it twice. You don't need to be violent. You don't need to incite hatred or destruction of property or whatever. You don't need to do absolutely nothing. You just need to do simple things. Oh, that brand of bottled water is not going to do this. It's not going to do what the government is proposing to stop this up. Okay, I won't buy it. It is working for our boycott of American products. The shelves of American sodas, even made here, they're filled. Eh, The other ones are restocked. I see it. The American ones are always filled. Okay? So when you hit the companies in the pocket, it works. You should, we should all think about this. I'm talking about myself too, of course. I also have some attitudes that are not environmentally uh, correct. But at least I know I'm having them and I understand why I'm doing it. But do you understand what I'm trying to say? Okay. You also have yours like I do. Well, but again, I think we need a new attitude on these ideas in forcing business to do more. And understanding that business is also there to make a profit, okay? Business is not there to provide you services. But that is why the state is there to provide conditions for that to happen. I'm not saying companies should go bankrupt because they need to change to glass bottles. No, the government can do something as simple as reducing the price of the raw materials that are used to produce those bottles. That is basically sand and energy. Okay, I'm not saying this is some kind of, I don't know, some kind of making the business do everything. No, you don't do that. You need to nudge them to your side, but you don't want to rule them. That would be communism, Stalinism, fascism, whatever you want to call it. That would be an authoritarian measure to force business to do exactly what you want. It would stop to be business and it would be state business. And we don't want that. We want companies to compete amongst themselves because it's always beneficial for us, the consumers. But we need to stop this idea that if we discover a new technology that we see that is highly beneficial for us, we cannot consider it non-economical, economically viable, and simply not use it for profit. That idea is what has led us to the state we're in right now. And this is just the beginning. And even if we stopped magically of polluting or destroying the environment right now, we would still have to endure the effects in the next 50 years, at least. So, when you hear people talking about global warming, think of extreme events. Think of fires, think of droughts, think of floodings, think of blizzards, think of that all. Look, the Gulf Stream is stopping. Europe may face the same type of winters that New York and other and Canada are suffering. But for them, it's normal to have those cold winters. Lisbon is at the same latitude as New York. Great Britain is in Siberia. And this can happen, okay? This can happen. If it stops, we are going to have bitter cold winters, and winters are getting weird here too. We are going to get bitter cold winters and suffocating summers. And human beings cannot survive in these extremes. Well, we can survive, but we cannot sustain civilizations in this way. That is why great civilizations always existed wherein the conditions in the environment were better. You know, like in the Middle East, like in Egypt, okay, where the like in China, where there was conditions to have a stable production of food, of water, of essential resources, civilization flourished. Where there is not, you had nomads, people that were able to survive, of course, but they were not able to construct a superior civilization. And if you think this cannot happen, that we cannot fall into some kind of medieval period at least, you are very wrong. Look at the United States. They are banning books. They are burning them too. Trump's theories of conspiracy, of the rigged elections and all of that, they are being taught in schools. Look at Russia. Putin is creating mini-me's. They are indoctrinating the children. Look at North Korea. In a sense, look at China. Look at India and Pakistan. Do you understand? It's so easy, so easy, so easy. Look at Sudan, what is happening there right now. Look at Israel and Gaza. It's so easy, but so easy for a civilization to fall into turmoil and confusion. And usually, the end of a civilization, it's not kind of a epic movie thing where the empire falls in a day. No, it's a slow rot. Civilizations, I always say this, civilizations don't die, they rot themselves to death. And this is what will happen to us. And unfortunately, I'm not a very optimistic person. I'm rather pessimistic. I think we already passed the tipping point. What, how we will react to this will perhaps allow us to continue. But if we do not choose the logic over emotions, you know, logic over profit, we are all dead. We are all dead. No, we are a doomed species. We will probably go extinct, and some other race of sentient beings will have a chance on Earth. But this is me. I'm rather pessimistic on that aspect. Well, thank you for listening to this long rant, and perhaps a bit boring for some people that don't like this environment and environmental things. And I hope at least that you enjoyed it.